There are a lot of kids right now who are actually alienated from their parents and they don't know that they're alienated. If society is saying it's not real, people are never going to figure it out. Hello and welcome to the Anti-Alienation Project. My name is Maddie and here I talk about all things related to a certain form of child psychological abuse called parental alienation. What is parental alienation? I went through this for 20 years, starting at the age of 9, ending about 2 years ago. And this is basically where one parent, usually a really angry parent during a divorce or a custody dispute, but not always, manipulates their child to reject their other loving parent without true justification. And this is really devastating, detrimental, and can ruin a person's life. So I've been speaking out about this since I learned the truth about 2 years ago. I've been rebuilding my relationship with my dad and trying to form a coalition of child survivors of parental alienation. I have some really good news to share. Regardless of how you may feel about the publication Epoch Times, I have a win for everybody who is affected by parental alienation because the Epoch Times interviewed me a few weeks ago. I have yet to see a major news or media publication cover parental alienation in a fair manner. I've seen most media outlets and news outlets cover it as if parental alienation is pseudoscience, and they're honestly just further exploiting the trauma and abuse that these kids are going through. So I've personally reached out to many different news organizations and interviewers and different people with different platforms, and I have not been successful in the past 10 months at getting anyone to run a story on this. So when the Epoch Times reached out and they wanted to interview me, I said yes, and thank goodness I did. Thank goodness I did, because this is an awesome article. And it is not saying anything definitively. It's covering the issue fairly, both sides, which it shouldn't even be an issue. I don't know at what point the abuse that I went through as a child has become politicized. That's another topic for another day. So anyway, I wanted to share this article with you because I think this is a major win. Like I said, regardless of what you think about the Epoch Times, if you're right-leaning, left-leaning, or if you lean somewhere in the middle, I think the fact that finally a major news outlet has covered parental alienation in a balanced way is a win for everybody involved. That's just my opinion. Funny thing too, if you've watched my videos for a while, or if you know a lot about this entire toxic community, you probably have heard of someone named Tina Swithin, One Mom's Battle. If you haven't heard about her, maybe that's for the best. But if you have, you know that she is allegedly my arch nemesis because she, in my opinion, just my opinion, she exploits alienated kids. She is also a major reason why we have bills trying to be passed in every state that would further harm alienated children. That's called Caden's Law or Peaky's Law. You can do research on that if you'd like. I have a video on that. It's called Caden's Law. Anyway, Tina Swithin is a really problematic person, and when they interviewed me for this article, I had absolutely no idea, no clue who else they were going to interview. But I saw that the article is up, and I read the article, and what do you know? They interviewed many people, and among them was little Miss Tina, T-Rex, as she calls herself, T-Rex. And I just find it very ironic and honest. If I'm being completely honest, I find it a little bit gratifying too that finally a news outlet has covered both sides and that Tina and Swithin are both in the same article. We were interviewed by Miss Chandra Phillip by the Epoch Times. So yes, Tina Swithin got her 2 cents in this article, but so did Madison Wellborn, and I am representing all of the children who are still being abused and they don't have their voices. Without further ado, let's just get into the article. She titled it, "The Battle Over Parental Alienation." It's appropriate. And what do you know? Imagine my surprise when I go to read the article and the very first thing I read in the article is Madison Wellborn, like my own name. It's insane. But also I want to say thank you, Chandra. Thank you so much for covering this article in a really fair way. So it goes, Madison Wellborn said it wasn't until she heard the term parental alienation that what she had lived in her childhood came into focus. Absolutely. I went from being a happy, outgoing, confident, and strong-willed kid to having been diagnosed with childhood depression and an anxiety disorder at the age of 9, she said in an interview. The interview, by the way, was like over an hour long. It was a very in-depth interview. She was really nice. Miss Wellborn says that she was alienated from her father by her mother for 20 years. She says she discovered this last year at the age of 28. Yeah, true dat, not fun. When I learned the term parental alienation, it was like a light bulb moment. I was able to put together what had happened. Learning the truth has allowed me to heal, rebuild a relationship with my dad, and build a better life for myself. So I'm very honored that she began the article with my own personal story. Very touched. So the article goes on to say, but there is a battle against the term that could banish it from the Canadian legal system. The theory of parental alienation, like I said, this article is referring to it as a theory. I'll state for the record, it's not a theory, it's child abuse, but it says the theory of parental alienation holds that a child can become estranged from one parent as a result of psychological manipulation by another parent. My God, people, it's 2024. We can accept so many things in this world, but we can't accept that a parent might manipulate their child. Let's get with it. Come on. Sorry, I just feel a little bit sassy. So it goes on to say, in January, 250 feminist organizations across Canada jointly called on the government to have parental alienation legislatively banned from courtrooms. They said some parents misuse the term in family court cases to silence parents and children who report family violence by claiming, without clear proof or evidence, that the other parent is engaging in alienation tactics. And they think that they have power in numbers by saying it's 250 feminist organizations. Remember, guys, when the United States didn't consider a Black person to be a full human being? Remember the amount of states that fought in an entire war to keep Black people enslaved? Yeah, the number of feminist organizations, that does not intimidate me. Human beings, for the record, have had to fight for nearly every human rights issue, and this is another one. And until now, nobody's fought for it because it has to be the kids who grow up to fight for the rights of the other kids who are still going through it. I truly believe that. I've said that from the start. Let's keep going. The groups said this puts children at risk of being ordered by the courts into the arms of abusive parents. Their abusive parent will say, quote, "The other parent is alienating me," end quote. And these children are forced into situations where they're being sexually abused, physically abused, and psychologically terrorized, end quote. Advocate Tina Swithin, author of Divorcing a Narcissist, told the Epoch Times, and we can't take that risk. Ms. Swithin adds that the term parental alienation has not been recognized by the World Health Organization or the American Medical Association. These big organizations, the WHO, the United Nations, that doesn't scare me. I've lived through all this stuff. Try again, guys. However, the article says, those working to help families going through parental alienation say that banning the term would be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Let's get some snaps for Chandra Phillips. Now they go into a quote from lawyer Brian Ludmer, who's awesome, and he's done a lot of research with Dr. Harmon. Every person that you describe this to says, oh yeah, a friend of mine or a cousin of mine is going through this, Toronto lawyer Brian Ludmer said. I think it's everywhere. It's a major social problem that needs a solution. Mr. Ludmer has been working on high conflict court cases for over a decade and is an advisory member of the Parental Alienation Awareness Organization and the International Support Network for Alienated Families. While not many statistics are available, a 2016 study by Colorado State University and High Point University scientists says over 22 million adults in the United States are targets of parental alienation and 10 million are experiencing severe alienation from their children. Miss Wellborn, who says she was alienated from her dad as a child, says it's very hard on the children as well. Quote, it's really sad because when you're a kid and you go through this, it's like you're mourning your parent, like they've died. Miss Wellborn said, so in your head, you've lost your parent. At least that's how it was for me. I wrote my dad off. I was really close with my dad before all this happened, she said. It switches gears and it talks about opposing e-petitions. Over the past several months, 2 opposing petitions have garnered enough signatures to get a response from Canada's Justice Minister. The petitions raise the question of whether parental alienation is a form of child abuse or whether the term itself is being abused. Why is it a black and white issue, guys? Why can't both things be true at the same time? The answer is that parental alienation is absolutely a very severe and detrimental form of child abuse. And at the same time, it's possible for anyone to exploit anything in court, especially family court. So both things are true. It's not one or the other. An e-petition opened in August 2023 called on the government to act with regard to parental alienation in order to improve the justice system so that women and children can be protected. The petition had 1,140 signatures before it was closed in November 2023. The Justice Minister said in his response that the courts are responsible for determining what is in the child's best interest. Not happening. When a child's rejection of a parent seems to be without justification, and it appears that the other parent has encouraged the child to turn against the rejected parent, the child may be referred to as alienated, he wrote on March 20th. Quote, in determining the best interest of the child in a case where there is an allegation that a child is resisting contact with a parent, the court will look at the circumstances of the case to determine whether the child is in fact resisting contact, and if so, why is this occurring? He added, in cases where family violence is also alleged, the court will also consider the specific criteria related to family violence in determining the children's best interest. To me, that's just a bunch of fluff. I don't even know what that actually means. Those are just words to fill space. A counter petition started in October 2023 called for Ottawa to make parental alienation a form of child abuse, and the petition garnered 600 signatures before it was closed in January. In his response to the petition on March 18th, Mr. Virani, the original dude, said the family courts are the best place to deal with the issue and that it is not a critical matter. Wouldn't sexual or physical abuse be a criminal matter, though? Why is psychological abuse not a criminal matter? Because you can't see the injuries? We need a better standard of care for our children. The next part of the article talks about some drama with some type of wellness retreat that was canceled, allegedly due to Miss Swithin and her actions. Boy, oh boy. Allegedly, by the way. So it says battle leads to wellness retreat cancellation. Miss Swithin's fight against the theory of parental alienation has crossed borders from California to Canada. It recently resulted in the cancellation of a wellness retreat for parents and grandparents alienated from the children in their lives that was to be held in British Columbia in April. And here's what little old Tina had to say about that. Quote, I had no idea that it had been canceled. End quote. Do you believe her? She says, quote, I speak about these things, but I definitely did not galvanize efforts to shut it down, end quote. If you have to say the thing. Lawyer Mr. Ludmer is listed as one of the 3 parental alienation experts who would have led the retreat, along with organizer Kathleen Ray. Miss Ray's published doctoral dissertation was on the long-term effects of parental alienation. Miss Ray told the Epoch Times in an email that she decided to cancel a retreat after the facility manager said the facility had been receiving emails and phone calls that were, quote, disruptive and emotionally traumatizing to their team, end quote. To me, and I'm just speculating here, but to me, if you're getting phone calls that are emotionally traumatizing, I think that would involve some threats of violence. I'm speculating, but that's what that reads like to me, which is scary. Tina. This is what Miss Ray told the Epoch Times, quote, after considering all the factors involved, my team and I decided it was not prudent to hold the retreat on that weekend. Dang. Then they end the article with the Anti-Alienation Project. Super honored to be at the beginning and the end of the article. I really am. I didn't know how this article would turn out. I just decided to trust this lady and tell her my story and be open and honest with her. And I'm just glad that the child's perspective has been included. So it says, wake up other alienated kids. Yeah. Miss Wellborn says that through the Anti-Alienation Project, which she founded, she is using her experience to try to reach other kids who may be going through the same thing. I want to be clear, though. I'm trying to reach adult kids, 18 and above, not like Tina Swithin, who literally asks underage minors to come to her with their trauma and abuse, and then she gives them a platform to make accusations, and she actually makes money, and she has this whole entire system where she exploits these kids. It's disgusting to me. So it ends with a few things that I said during the interview. Quote, I felt this duty to try to wake up other alienated kids because, my gosh, I've been able to really turn my life right now. There are a lot of kids right now who are actually alienated from their parents and they don't know that they're alienated. If society is saying it's not real, people are never going to figure it out. And that's how she ended the article. Just so happy with how she covered this article. I'm just so happy to have been included in this discussion on parental alienation. I really am. Thank you, Chandra. Thank you, Epoch Times. So I will leave the link to this article in the description of this video. If you support what I'm doing, or if you support other media and news outlets covering both sides, so to speak, of this issue, please leave a comment, or please even reach out to Chandra Phillips and tell her that's awesome, because she really is probably getting a lot of backlash for this, and I hope that Chandra has paved the way for more people to try to cover this. Come on, we have a breaking news story. You don't need to make up any craziness. We have the craziness. We have a major breaking story here. Anyway, so that's the end of this video. I hope that you found it insightful or helpful. If you enjoyed the article, please share it, give it a comment, or even reach out if you want to go the extra mile. Reach out to some other people. If you know anybody who works in news or media, see if they'd be willing to run a story on parental alienation, because the adult children are coming together and it's time for change. Things are going to change. I'll see you next time. Bye.